This video is rated TV 16, has some harsh language which may not be appropriate for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Alright, Heavy Metal Explosion coming at you with another figure discussion. And this is Transformers Wolf of Cybertron EARTHRISE Starscream. And I guess the first thing I want to get out of the way is that this is a upscaled version of the Classics Seeker mold. And whereas I guess I would have preferred a unique jet or robot mode that turns into the Classic Seeker mold or G1 Seeker mold. I guess this is a good, probably compromise. The Classics Seeker mold was not a bad Seeker mold, and as you can see here, the height is roughly somewhere around 5.5 inches for the Classics and somewhere around 6 3/4 roughly for the new Classics. Now obviously in comparison to say the other one, the Tetrajet mode, it's not that far off, really. Tetrajet just has a little bit of height on it, but as you can see here, in comparison with the poor lighting, we have a huge size difference when it comes to the Classics and the new mold. But also you can see very subtle changes, but a lot of similarities. Now obviously I got some upgrade kits on mine Classics, but as you see here, the cockpit is basically in the same spot, and on here you can turn the heads, but it's real difficult. The arms do move on this Classic mold out very far and around 360 degrees. We also have an elbow joint, but nothing in a bicep swivel. Now we're kicking the legs out here, and they do go out very far. As I play around with the positioning here, we do have a swivel at the knee, and it does kick out not quite 90. And again, it does have a knee bend, but it is not quite at a 90-degree knee bend, as I try to show it off here. And yes, I am using an overlay audio. Sorry guys, I am filming at about 1 in the morning, and I don't want to wake up everybody in the house. And so we do have some issues with this particular mold being back heavy, and some issue with the wings, as you see. Yeah, forgot maybe whether or not I showed that knee twist off, but I remember now that I did. And yes, that's a loose wing, and some of them are loose, even though this was one of the first molds that was produced aside from the Starscream molds. So I think what I'm going to do is get into a transformation here, and it's been a long time since I transformed this particular robot here, and even as simple as this transformation is, you know, in today's market with all of the masterpiece and the third party um, studio series, etc., this was probably one of the best transformations of its time. And to show you how long it's been, this the nose cone cockpit area was stuck in place, and it was giving me one hell of a time getting undone again. I really did think I was going to break this figure right here, and with the aftermarket value on some of these Seekers, I'm not trying to break this figure. Now you'll see me fussing with that nose cone area. Due to the mold degradation, this nose cone kept popping loose. So I may have to try to fix that, or I may just put them on the shelf to totally seize up again. So, and the plastic on these were a very rigid plastic, a hard plastic. I dare say it's going to be a brittle plastic in the overall time frame of how long some of this stuff lasts. So, but once that nose cone got freed up, the transformation pretty much was fairly easy. Cleaning off some dust there. So, pulling out the front landing gear and giving you just a quick peek of what it looks like sitting down on all fours. Some minor touch-ups, but yeah, the plastic is, I guess, not as flexible as today's plastic is. And we see here that this obviously is a great representation of the original Seeker mold. You see that gaping hole in the center where the cockpit goes, and if not, we got some more light being finally shown into the subject here. And yeah, right down the center of the massive gullet of this jet. But really, it's not really a bad, transformation. The robot mode, even though it just pushes together and folds in on itself, it's not really that bad. Not like you see some of the larger jets that have a big, huge robot body to hide. This does a pretty good compression factor and hides away a bit better. So now we're going to get in on the whole Starscream Voyager. And I will say that I did have a problem with transforming this figure, and just wanted to get in on that head, which you still, my lighting sucks here. I need a larger place in order to do my filming, but my office slash collection room still got a lot of shit all over it. So we get to see both heads fairly up close, and I'm giving you I think I'm going to give you the posable this figure is. As soon as I can get him in the frame. No, I'm gonna start transforming them in. You'll see I got stuck here at some point. Yep, right in here. And there's a little tab that I didn't point out that does right there, if you can see it. Yep, what I'm fucking with right there. That needs to stay straight. And there's a little slot inside the forearm there that it has to poke through. So I wind up pulling it off camera. You'll see in just a few. In order to fix that, because for the life of me, even with the instructions in front of me, I couldn't figure that son of a bitch out. So here I done figured it out, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is, there you go. There's a little hole I point out, and there's a little tab poking through. It doesn't, it sits flush, but you get what I'm going for there. So yeah, there he is, nice and pretty. The first portion of this massive challenge. And right here I'm wondering again, am I gonna break this son of a bitch? And I don't. I'll just give you a heads up. The guessing game is out of the bag here. No, I don't break my figure. Not this time. So it seems like in the instructions that torso piece or the chest piece pushes forward a little bit. No, it doesn't. It's all in the back. And as you see here, although the drinking game for the uns are in, so anybody that plays that drinking game on my reviews knows that they can get pretty well drunk, kicked in the ass with all the ums and and the pauses that I do. So yeah, this is it seems to be a complicated piece of transformation. Somewhere along the lines I didn't have the arms seated quite properly, and I had to pretty much lift up right there where the intakes are and squeeze them into place. That was a bitch. And then of course they never sit very flush, and as you see, I showed you where that little tab is that you got to lift up and over. But I took it off camera for the transformation back in robot mode, and I was able to now that I ran through the transformation once, I was able to actually get it transformed. Now this here is very much a Combiner War style transformation in the legs, which is fine. I mean, that should be a given nowadays in most all transformations, because I mean it was a revolutionary style transforming when it comes to Hasbro instead of the slide joint like on the classics. Now this joint back here where the legs come into that little tail piece, that was a bitch to get in. It's like I didn't have it quite lined up right, and I was like, Jesus Christ. So I had to take it off camera and get that joint put in. So on with the rest of this transformation. Pretty much I was winging it, some bitch. But so these tail fins here and stabilizers are semi-connected to the heels. So there's a slot, which, yeah, there you go. There's the slot, and you kind of lift it up over shins and drop it into place on the back side of the legs, the calves, if you will. And then you can close the feet down, and once they're closed down, it's not a bad representation of modern style jet thrusters, because I think like the Raptor has like a rectangular port on the back, and they do a lot of the maneuvering on the jets nowadays. So I have heard about these wings popping off. Apparently they're in there inset with just kind of like a plastic mushroom peg or something, or beveled peg, and they may pop off, but if you're semi-gentle with it, they won't pop off. But as you can see here, you have the same issues: the gaping hole in the chest, and then that big hole in the front. And no, there's no landing gear. I think that was a major drawback to this figure. They should have added the faux landing gears so that they, it wasn't like it was hurting anything. So I think they kind of lost out on that one. But as you can see, they look pretty similar, and yeah, I'm all thumbs tonight. So, and you can see the size difference. And of course, you can't see it there until I adjust the camera. There we go. So, and look how much bigger this jet is. I mean, seriously, I would have been fine personally with a Starscream the size of some of the deluxe aerial bots, but getting it this size is great. Yeah, like I said, that's not landing gear. And I'm pointing out here where it should have been landing gear, but they're not. Just point out some of the details, although you can't really see it. I'm filming on my Galaxy, and I don't have a big enough space, and my left arm is still fucking injured. But if y'all check out my Stan Lee video, you'll see where if you want to vote in the poll, then maybe you'll decide that you want to hear a little more about me. Now here's a size comparison. Obviously we have Impactor, and we have a RC Selects Legends figure. Now, who else am I going to bring in here? Surprise, surprise. Oh, Prime Master. Who else do we have? Oh yeah, my Spawn. I like that Spawn. I actually got two of those. That's my loose one. The other one is mint in package, my friends. Mint in package. Oh, who else? I think we're going to bring in some aerial bots. Oh, look at there. Now this is Voyager. I think if we had gotten them in this scale, they definitely would have been able to do a lot more with them. Now I didn't show it off in the robot mode. I didn't even show his articulation in the in this. I think maybe I lost some of the footage somewhere along the lines. Again, I'm filming this about between 1 and 3 in the morning, so somewhere along the lines I lost some footage. I do have it though in stills, so that'll go up on my Heavy Metal Explosion Facebook. And again, I pointed out some air raid, and this is the overview, my final thoughts. And what we have going on here is that they did a lot of stuff good with this figure, but the problem is that when they upscaled it, they could have included a waist swivel. I think we all of us can agree on that. But being that it was a deluxe size, they couldn't really improve on the waist swivel as much back then when the classics was going on, but they could have this time. There was no reason for them not to include a waist swivel here. On top of which, they were a couple millimeters height difference between the Tetrajets and the Earth vehicles. So why couldn't they increase the size just enough to include waist articulation? I think Hasbro lost big on that one. That could be a deciding factor in people getting this one as opposed to just keeping the Tetrajets. Because the Tetrajets are fine robot mode and jet mode for that matter. Sure, it's just a folded up robot, but with the gaps, but it's more cohesive, even with the chest panel being on the back of the Tetrajet, than really the gaping hole in the chest on the robot mode, the cockpit, and the lack of articulation in the waist. So for me, this jet's a pretty good must-have. It gives you all the basic classics nostalgia. Plus they're coming out with the cone heads, and even though I didn't like the cone heads except for thrust, I'm still probably going to get them, and hopefully they'll give us Thundercracker and Skywarp, maybe as selects versions. Then we'll have the 6 original. Now if they give us a added Red Wing or whomever, then that's great. An Acid Storm, Sunstorm, then those are great. But yeah, with most of that out of the way, it's a good jet former, and I think it's a decent buy. So I guess with all that left being said, guys, basically until next time.